CBS Sports HQ, it was the first loss for Michigan at home in the last 4 years, lassoed by the Longhorns. But there are bigger concerns than just a home loss. A quarterback conundrum, if you will. J.J. McCarthy, of course, left for the NFL. And you got the reigning national champ. Surely they could find a viable replacement. So far, we have not seen it. Taking a look at sports lines. Right now, the percentages for each team to make the college football playoffs. It is my job to say the Longhorns come in at the top, 97.3%, followed by Georgia. You don't see Michigan right here in the top. There they are on the next page, along with the Sooners sitting at 14.9%. Also of note, Notre Dame not on this list, and neither is Florida State, because Danny Kanell is here with me on set. We are also going to be joined by Tom Fornelli here. Let's start with the Michigan Wolverines. We're going to try to figure out exactly what they need to do at quarterback. So I'm going to walk you guys through it right now. You have Davis Warren leading an offense that ranks 111th nationally in yards per play. Some people thought it was going to be the backup Alex Orji, didn't perform well at camp. You have Jack Tuttle, seventh-year senior. He's a little banged up right now. Our quarterback, what do you do?
They are searching for the same answer that we're looking for. You mentioned Jack Tuttle. He was in the same high school class as Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, which is wild, but that's today's world with college football players getting extra years of eligibility. We talk about quarterback because it's the most important position of the game, but there are more significant issues for Michigan, like the defense. Texas went through them like a sharp knife through butter. I mean, they just made it look easy. They've got to get better. The offense, the offensive line, if they were playing better, it would make whoever's playing quarterback's job that much easier. And the run game, which really has been the identity of this Michigan team since Harbaugh was there, has been physical. We want to run the football. And Donovan Edwards has not been there. Mullings has been okay, but no one has really taken the lead. So there are issues all across the board, Tom, that I look at and I'm like, it's not just the quarterback. Yes, that's a part of the problem, but I think they're searching for even more significant answers by putting him in a position to succeed.
Yeah, if you're Michigan, there is no easy answer, particularly at the quarterback spot where you could just say, all right, we're going to go with this guy, and it's going to fix everything, because you're right. There are problems all across the roster. I think defensively, Wink Martindale's come in, and he blitzes a lot, and I think that's fine against most quarterbacks that Michigan's going to face, but when you're going up against a guy like Quinn Ewers or the other top guys that they'll be facing later in the season, it can become a problem against a guy who knows how to deal with it. But as far as Michigan's quarterback situation goes, for me, it's not a solution, but they need to pick a lane. Whether it's Davis Warren, Alex Orji, or anybody, you need to pick one of those guys and just stick with him. We saw last year Alex Orji came in for like some gimmick packages when Michigan had a much better team around him, and he really wasn't that effective. In the snaps he's gotten this year coming in that package, he's been ineffective as well. So if I'm Sharon Moore, even though I look at Davis Warren and I don't think he's an incredible answer and he's going to lead Michigan to a Big Ten title, I have to pick one, whether it's Warren or Orji. Pick them and stick with it and ride it out and hope that that run game can improve and help out whoever I end up going with. But this whole pulling one in and one out and having the other looming over the other one's shoulder, it's not working, and I think you need to put an end to it.
Really quickly, do you agree? Pick one and go with it?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And they're not even similar styles, so they're running two different offenses. When they run out Alex Orji, they're going to run the football, and when it's Davis Warren, they're running more of a traditional pro set, so the defenses know exactly what's coming almost. I totally agree.
Speaking of the Big Ten, now has Washington and Oregon in it, both of them heading back to face the Pac-2 teams, if you will. We get Oregon State in Corvallis, by the way, Washington State in the Apple Cup. Tom, I'm going to start with you, and I want to talk about Oregon. I was covering the Oregon State game. Obviously, they won 21-0 over San Diego State. Oregon almost losing to Boise State, so I'm invested in this game. What are you watching for?
I just want to see if Oregon's offensive line actually blocks somebody, because that really has been the biggest story for this team through the first couple games. Like, they've been dealing with some injuries. They missed two starters again on the offensive line this week against Boise State. And so far this season, Dylan Gabriel's been sacked 7 times. That's important because all of last season, Oregon allowed 5 sacks. So they've already allowed more in 2 games. And I think when you look at the run game in particular, there's no explosive plays. Last season's Oregon offense had an explosive run rate of 14%, which ranks 7th in the country. This year, it's at 4.1%, which ranks 119th. And when you look at that team and what you expect from Oregon, it's big plays. And Dylan Gabriel has the ability to get them through the passing game at times. But Oregon was such a well-balanced offense last year, and it made it very difficult for teams to prepare for them. This year, we have not seen the case. And on the defensive side of the ball, frankly, they haven't been as good as I thought they were going to be. Boise State was pushing them around a little bit. Ashton Genty's a great player, so I wasn't shocked to see him have a good game, but I was still surprised by how easy Boise State was making things look on offense at times in that game. So I believe the Ducks are going to win this weekend, even in a rivalry against an Oregon State team that's 2-0. But what I want to see is, can this team kind of turn it up a notch to get to the level we expected before the season? Because so far, they've just looked kind of ordinary.
Totally agree, Tom. You know, Amanda mentioned something about the Pac-2 teams. Trust me, this is adding a lot of spice to these rivalry games because those programs felt left behind very much so in the future of college football. So you talk about playing with a chip on their shoulder. They would love nothing more than to beat their rivals who got to leave and go with the Big Ten. But as far as it pertains to Washington, I feel like this is probably the least amount of time we've spent talking about a team that played for the national championship that's undefeated through 2 games in the history of college football. And I do think it's because the expectation was so low for Jed Fish. After Kalen DeBoer left, the roster was depleted. There are guys off in the NFL. You lose your quarterback. And yet, they've quietly taken care of business. And Will Rogers, the transfer in from Mississippi State, who is one of the best all-time passers in the SEC, has done exactly what you would expect him to do. They found a back in Jonah Coleman, who's been pretty physical. And quietly, they're sitting in an opportunity to kind of start off the season really strong, which I do think is a necessity for them to have a solid season because the early part of the season is gettable. The back end, things get a lot more serious. So a very fun matchup with Washington State.
Taking a look ahead to week 3 in college football here. You have number 4 Alabama, who's going to be jumping around in Madison. Do you like that? Do you get it?
I get what you did.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Wisconsin. Stop it. Shut up, Tom. I have 2 stats here for Wisconsin taking a look at this game. One is good, 51-2 in their last 53 non-conference games at home. 1-9, though, in their last 10 games against top 5 opponents. Danny, what chance do they have against the Tide?
I mean, it's an uphill battle. Alabama's clearly at a different spot, you know, as far as where they reside as football royalty. And you've got Wisconsin, who had a down year last year in Luke Fickell's first year. They've sputtered a little bit. They haven't exactly dominated their first 2 opponents. And yet, you look at this. This is one of the bigger home field advantages that's out there. So I'll be curious to see how this unfolds. The thing I will say, and this puts a lot of pressure on Tyler Van Dyke, their quarterback, in both of Alabama's first 2 games, there have been players open in the pass game, plays to be made. Byron Brown couldn't make some of those throws, and neither could TJ Finley in week 1 for Western Kentucky. And Bama feels like they're kind of getting started. They're still learning a new system. They're busting some coverages. They're not executing on offense. There was a sequence where they had 5 or 6 series in a row where it was 3 and out. So it does feel like this would be an opportunity, and yet I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bama goes in there and just dominates the game because that's what they do. But I do think if they can run the football with Maluzzi, get Tyler Van Dyke's confidence up, and hit on just a couple of those big plays, maybe they could stay in this thing in the 4th quarter and then anything could happen. But this is a massive game for Luke Fickell to even keep it close to showcase, hey, we're a much improved team from last year. Everybody knows about our schedule, but we're a better team.
A big game for Luke Fickell. Matt Rule with Nebraska trying to go 3-0 for the Cornhuskers there. They haven't done that in a hot minute. Taking on Northern Iowa, though, Tom, and he did note that the Panthers have the number 4 rushing offense, in the FCS. My brain just stopped.
It's all good.
Is this an easy 3-0 start for the season for Nebraska?
Oh, very, very much so. I don't think Northern Iowa is going to pose much of a threat to the Cornhuskers in this game Saturday. But while I don't want to tell Nebraska fans they shouldn't be excited because they have not had very many reasons to be excited in recent years. They're 2-0. They're ranked for the first time since the 2nd week of the 2019 season. When you look under the hood and look a little closer, there are some reasons to be a little concerned about how good this team actually is. First of all, mean, they beat UTEP in week 1. UTEP lost to Southern Utah on Saturday, so it's not like the Miners are a very good team. The Colorado team they just beat on Saturday barely beat North Dakota State. And when you look at some of the stats, success rate on offense, they rank 61st. Explosive rate, they're 90th. In the red zone, they're 97th in points per possession. And Dylan Raiola, I think, is very talented. And I know that he, idolizes Patrick Mahomes. But as you just saw in that highlight, the one touchdown he threw last week should have been an interception. It was almost like a video game glitch that went through the linebacker. And then there was another throw he made that should have been a touchdown, but he underthrew it because he decided to fade away and throw off his back foot for some reason known only to him, probably because he saw Patrick Mahomes do it. So I do think this Nebraska team is much improved, and I do think they're going to get to a bowl. But I don't know if I'm sitting there looking at this team as one that's going to be competing for the Big Ten, and I feel like a lot of Huskers fans in Lincoln think they're going to be competing for a Big Ten title.
Either way, you can't overlook any team, is what we saw Notre Dame do last week against Northern Illinois. Marcus Freeman admitted that. They're taking on Purdue. Purdue looking to hand Notre Dame its second loss in a row. Can they do it, Danny?
I don't want to put one of our bosses, our big bosses, on blast.
That's
but
fine. Tracy Anderson.
Tracy is a massive Purdue fan. And it's funny because week 1, we come in here and she's like, well, we might win today, but that's probably it for the season because that was the expectation for Purdue. It was kind of low expectations. Last year was a sputter. And then all of a sudden, they go out there and they manhandle Indiana State. Hudson Cars goes 24 of 25 through the air. And you pile on that Notre Dame just lost to Northern Illinois. So all of a sudden, if you're a Purdue Boilermaker, you're thinking, hey, why not? And I would tend to agree with that philosophy because Notre Dame did struggle across the board. Brian Walters will have a team that physically is prepared. Their offense does look like a quarterback who's got a year of experience in this system. And Notre Dame's past offense has been non-existent with Riley Leonard. So the Spoilermakers, as they've been here for the last 4 or 5 years, they could do it again to the Fighting Irish, which I know they're hanging on by a sliver for the playoffs. If they beat them at home, Purdue beats them at home, they are absolutely eliminated and would be a huge win for Purdue, which I don't think is that crazy to think it could happen.
And you also got to wonder how much Notre Dame is in its own head right now because that was horrible. Tom, you're talking about hot takes. They got an article up right now on CBSSports.com. What is your hot take in the Big Ten?
I had low expectations for the Northwestern Wildcats coming into the season, even off of their very, exceeding expectations last year. But they've fallen even lower after what I've seen from the Wildcats through their first 2 games of the season. They won against Miami of Ohio to start the year, but did not play well. They lost in overtime to Duke on Friday night, and this offense looks absolutely putrid through 2 games that are already making a QB change. My prediction is you look at that schedule, you see all those Big Ten games coming up. Northwestern's not going to win a single one of them. They're going 0-9 in conference play. It's going to be a very long year in Evanston.
Danny, we don't really have time for you to go into yours, but just say it in one sentence so everybody can hear it.
USC is the second best team in the Big Ten.
Yep, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Danny Kanell, we appreciate it. You guys can talk about that at the Cover 3 podcast. I appreciate it. Tom Fornelli, sorry, my mind totally blinked when I was tossing to you. Cover 3 podcast, Danny Kanell makes an appearance on there. Tom Fornelli getting you ready for week 3 in college football.